I thought it might be a preview of the next Up movie or something.
Oh, that's funny.
Great.
Okay, that one is ours.
All right. So, all right,
Gather a
good to
kid.
go.
Okay, we are all here and we're coming to order at 1:03. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as listed?
Well,
I
yeah,
move
Oh,
to
yeah.
approve the agenda.
Oh, yes, sorry, we're adding 4.7 or 4.9?
4.6.
4.6. One of those. Which was discussing the whether or not to go forward with looking at contracts with the Japan trip.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Okay. Any other additions? Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of 4.6?
I move to approve the agenda with the addition.
Okay.
Second.
What was that, Maureen?
Second.
Oh, okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Okay. Looks like the consent agenda is just the minutes of last month's meeting.
Move approval.
Yes. Make a motion to
Maureen's
approve.
not nowhere to be, so let's go.
It's not
Gonna
a,
make this meeting short. Okay, I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any public comment, Rachel? Is Rachel there?
Yeah,
No.
no comment.
No comment.
Okay.
There. No
Is there?
comment.
No comment.
Then we'll start with Adrian.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So let me just pull these over here so that I can look at them and look at you guys at the same time.
Adrian did a great job giving the commencement address at the Northwest graduation.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
Who asks the financial person to give?
That's interesting.
Well, when they're Adrian,
Well, I was
I
gonna
had
say
to go see it.
I was gonna
Like I've never seen such a thing.
I'd have to say I kind of strong-armed my way into that one as my goodbye. So
Oh.
but it works. So the EFs, some of them, they wanted me to come and talk. So it was a nice collaboration of a goodbye. So yeah.
It wasn't a financial presentation.
No, it was not. So yes, I don't expect students to be budgeting at this level, although I could take a few proteges. So we are ending May with a 40% carryover, which I think is a little bit more than the last 2 months. I'm riding on the Maureen's coattails, so picking up, just tracking along. There's nothing changing right now in the state school fund. The numbers remain the same from last year, or from last board meeting, so nothing new on that. Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to, working with Rachel and Kristen and bringing some new things to BCA. So I am definitely excited. And again, I appreciate you guys on the presentation for, learning about finances and how things, look, asking questions, and I am happy to be here.
Absolutely. And we really appreciate you being available to walk everybody through everything and being here at these meetings.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions regarding any of the finances or anything at all?
I got some offline things for you, but it's just about going.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't have any questions. Next up is, it looks like Maya.
We've got Maya back, and I just want to say again how much I appreciate Maya in this role, tracking our data. It is kind of discouraging. I just want to say that she's been just getting into tracking iReady, and now we are switching to a new system. But we'll give her last hurrah for her thing. Go ahead, Maya.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll end my presentation with a look ahead. So it's not doom and gloom for everything, I promise. Okay, I'm gonna try to share my screen. Okay. Alrighty. So this is our spring 2026 data report. Let's jump right into it. I'm switching up how I do the presentations a little bit. I'm going to start with our overall takeaways here so you can kind of keep them in mind as we go through before we get into all the nitty gritty and the big charts and numbers and all that stuff. So I broke those down into whole school takeaways and grade level takeaways. So for the whole school, in proctored easy CBM assessments, students are testing higher in math than in reading. You'll see that pop up. You're also going to see a decline from last spring's numbers to this spring's numbers with both subjects tested. So that's just looking at whole school data. For the grade level, or grade level by grade level, you'll see that each grade level followed similar testing patterns throughout the year, especially with easy CBM. You'll see kind of a shape emerge that I'll point out as we look at grade level data throughout the year. And then two areas to keep an eye on moving forward are kindergarten through second grade reading and fifth through eighth grade math. So starting with our whole school numbers. This is our reading and math growth from the fall of this year and to the spring of this year. So we are, again, we've got columns to represent iReady data, and then the lines are representing easy CBM data. And then I've color coded it. So green for both tests is either low risk or at or above grade level. And then yellow is some risk, red is high risk for both tests. For my own ease of comparison and hopefully for yours as well, I put the numbers on for our green categories. I figured it'll be easier to focus just on one instead of trying to focus on the green, yellow, and red all at the same time and how they're moving. So we can just look at how our students are doing at or above grade level throughout the year. You'll see as you're looking here that our iReady and our easy CBM numbers agree much more when it comes to reading than math. You'll see math, we've got this big gap between our easy CBM line and our iReady columns. Our hypothesis here is that the way that iReady structures their math questions for the diagnostics can be quite confusing. And I know it can be that way for reading as well, but as somebody who sat and proctored these iReady diagnostics for several years, the math assessments in particular, if you don't have the exact right vocabulary for the way to do a specific function, the students might completely miss the question or just skip past it. So that's our guess as to why there's a much bigger gap between the numbers with math than with reading. Another thing I want to point out just before we get too far into looking at any of the data is the difference in how iReady and Easy CBM collect and present data. Easy CBM uses something called norm referenced achievement. And what that means is that they compare students to other students at their grade level. So it does not necessarily measure how close to grade level a student is performing. What it does measure is how close they are performing or how many of their peers they're performing the same level or better than. So for example, students that are scoring low risk in the low risk category for easy CBM diagnostics, that means that those students scored higher than 41 to 99% of their peers on that same assessment. So that's how Easy CBM measures growth. iReady measures how close students are to grade level skills. So there are two different ways of looking at the data that are being presented. While iReady does measure something that I think is a bit more tangible, which is the student's ability to do grade level tasks. As we know, there's a lot more variables that we can't control going on with iReady since they're testing at home. Whereas Easy CBM is a proctored environment, it's more controlled. So just something to note as we move forward and continue to look at numbers. Okay, so here we've got our whole school reading and math, and this is from spring of last year, so this time last year to this time this year, and seeing growth in students. As you can see here, we do see a decline in both subjects, and iReady and Easy CBM actually agree on this. We're seeing a general decline from last spring in reading to this spring, and last spring in math to this spring as well. Again, you will also see that the reading numbers for iReady and Easy CBM agree much more with reading. They're very close, 69 to 70%, 64 to 60%. And again, there's a bit of a bigger gap when it comes to math. We're hypothesizing the same as I mentioned before. And another thing to keep in mind, of course, is that last year we did still have Bend students that were testing for the whole school. So that is a variable that is not consistent. It's not a consistent variable from last spring to this spring. So this is not a truly foolproof comparison.
How many
Okay.
students did complete the testing for this year?
For this year?
Yeah.
We actually had really good completion levels, although I took that part of my presentation out from the winter because I felt like it made it very long, but I did still measure it. We had pretty good completion rates, although one thing I did realize is that our numbers for iReady were all over the place in terms of like we had 460 students, I think, that were available for the iReady reading exam, but then for the iReady math, it was 360 or something like that. So I think that probably boils down to the way that students were entered into the system, and I know we're fixing that for STAR moving forward. So, but just as I was looking at the completion rate numbers, I was like, this seems so strange. Like, why are there such discrepancies going on here? But when you factored in for those accounts, actually our completion rate was quite high across both tests, iReady and Easy CBM this year.
So in the hundreds, you're saying, not? Is that what you said? How many?
Oh, you want like
Trying
that?
to get a feel for, small schools, one kid that happens to be off the charts academically graduates and, your test scores go down because same with graduation rate, one student doesn't complete and it really
So it
affects
would be
things.
all of our K-8
Yeah.
students and incoming high school would be taking it.
Are eligible, but I was wondering
Yes.
how many do that. Yeah.
It should be I can pull the exact number in a minute actually, because I'm going to jump over to the big spreadsheet that I use to track all of this stuff. But if I'm recalling from memory, it's about 350 or so, something along those lines.
Okay, that's good enough. Thank you.
Okay, grade level breakdown. So I decided to look at the specific grade levels for math and reading to see if there are any areas that we should keep an eye on. I'm going to hop over to the spreadsheet that I used because in order to do this, I created many different graphs, and instead of show you every single graph that I did, I looked for the patterns. I'll give you the highlights, and then I'll kind of do a brief review of everything that I did to get to those takeaways. But the two areas to watch are the kindergarten through second grade reading and the 5th through 8th grade math. These grade bands were performing a bit lower than others in the proctored Easy CBM assessments. I'm gonna hop over here to the spreadsheet that I'm referencing. So this is my like giant data collection spreadsheet. I'm not gonna show you everything here because there's a ton of charts and numbers and colors and things going on. But I do just want to briefly show you what I did to break out the grade level comparisons. So this whole sheet is just for reading. I'll start with reading. And I looked for this year. I broke it down between iReady and Easy CBM because if I did both on one graph, it was impossible to figure out patterns. And I focused more on the Easy CBM results again because we have a bit more fidelity with the results for Easy CBM. There's fewer variables that we need to account for. So then I would make a graph comparing all of the grade levels for a particular test. So for fall of this year. And then I color coded the grade levels. I tried to kind of go in rainbow order so that our younger students would be the warmer colors and our older students would be cooler colors. So it was a bit simpler to see any outliers. You'll see for the fall Easy CBM reading, there's our second graders followed a different pattern than the rest of the school. We'll come back to that in a second. So I did the same for our winter tests, iReady Easy CBM, and then our spring test. And you can see here that the general pattern remained the same throughout the year. In general, we had this sort of shape on the graph where most of our students were testing low risk. The least amount of our students had some risk, and then a slightly higher amount had a high risk. So it generally followed this sort of backwards checkmark pattern. When I saw the second grade line here, I got a little bit concerned, so I did a specific measure on the second graders, but I saw that after this fall assessment, they generally followed the same pattern as the rest of the school. So it might have just been a bit of a fluke in the fall assessment, or there could have been another factor going on there. But the general trend that I did see looking at the Easy CBM data throughout this year is that it's especially apparent in the spring data, but for reading, you'll see our warmer colors are lower than our cooler colors. So our kindergarten, first and second graders we have fewer students that are in the low risk category and more students that are in the high risk category. And this pattern did hold throughout the year. So you can see, again, even though there's less of a gap, the students that are performing a bit lower are K through 2, and then here as well. So just something I noted. We can keep an eye on it. I plan to keep an eye on it in the future. If we hop over to math, I did the same thing. I pulled, oh, sorry, I started at spring. Here's fall. I did the same thing for math where I looked at each grade level, same color coordination with each test, and they followed the same kind of backwards check mark pattern, which is fairly typical. The pattern that I saw here, though, is that our students that were performing a bit lower in math are our 5th through 8th grade students. So our cooler colors are at the bottom, or are at the bottom of the trend line here for our math exams. And then we've got, they have more students in the higher risk category. So again, just something to keep an eye on as we move forward. I plan to continue tracking these grades into next year. This will help us figure out whether it's specific students that are struggling with these subjects or if we as an institution need to emphasize our reading or math instruction at these levels. For example, if our K2 students continue to struggle year to year with reading, then that could indicate we need to emphasize our early reading instruction. And it's not necessarily the students themselves that are struggling. So I plan to continue looking at these levels moving into next year. And more things to look forward to next year. As you all know, we're changing our diagnostic assessments from iReady and Easy CBM to STAR. With this school-wide implementation of the STAR assessments, we have several things we can look forward to with data collection and data reporting. So I'll just go over them. The first is that we'll have data from one single assessment instead of 2 assessments that we'll need to compare. This should lead to cleaner interpretations, cleaner analysis. It'll be easier to read any charts and graphs that I give to you because we won't be looking at two different tests. now that we've had only the Lowell campus for a full year, we can compare year-to-year data with more consistent variables. We've had a full year without the Bend campus now, so as we look at comparisons next year, it'll be with a bit more fidelity. STAR has shorter assessments, and we are planning to have them proctored by instructors. This should increase the trust of our results, and it should increase the student buy-in. And finally, STAR gives us the ability to view data from several different viewpoints. So this includes standards mastery, which is the way that iReady reports their data. Readiness for OSAS, if that's something we're interested in, that's a measure that I could pull for STAR. We could look at the norm referenced achievement, which is the way that EasyCBM reports its data. I could break out data by teacher. I could also break it out by specifical demographics. So these would be things like first language, you know, the free and reduced lunch, lots of things like that, that a lot of grant reporting requires us to do things like that to report student growth in specific subjects based on demographics. So that's another thing that I can do with STAR that will make it even more interesting to look at the data. So lots to look forward to for next year. And that's what I have for you. Can I answer any questions?
So with STAR, I love that you're able to, you know, bring the view in tight versus broad. Are you able, not that you'd publish this, I'm just thinking in terms of if I were a parent in year 3, can you just pull out the data for just one single student to share with
Yeah.
their family? Okay,
Yes.
that's great. I mean, I know you can always go get it, but it's better when it
Mhm.
comes from the system that, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I think STAR even has, I know I already had a similar thing, but STAR I think has a view that's I think they call it like a caregiver view or something, so that it's easier for people that are not in the education field to interpret the results for a specific student.
One of the, I think we've talked about it for years, the strengths is individualized education plans, and that's really a good, if we're going to go through that, that's a good measure to say that, yeah, not only is that good, here's what it's yielding,
Mhm.
and if their kid isn't getting help, then we need to
Yeah.
beef it up in that way.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that the testing data has been really helpful, and Maya has done a lot of work interpreting it for our growth team, in which students go to see whether or not they just need more targeted instruction, or if there is reasons for an IEP or 504, something like that. So yeah, Maya's already in that world, and I think that STAR will help that even more.
Yes, agreed.
Great.
Any
Thanks.
other questions?
I don't think.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was great.
District going to STAR too, right, Scott?
Mhm.
A lot of people are. I think.
Yeah, I think STAR is the popular choice. Shorter assessments and cheaper, I think, than iReady. So, and then iReady was in the news recently with some things, so
Oh, really?
didn't help.
I think it was data integrity or something.
You know, I'm not
Privacy.
gonna spread rumors. You can go look it up yourself.
Yeah.
They're being sued.
Oh, no.
Not by me though.
Yeah.
I missed the boat.
Okay. Well, next up, we are reappointing board members, which is just us saying whether or not we are continuing on in the next year or not. And so I will be continuing on. Maureen?
I'm retiring. This is my last board meeting.
We're very sad for us, but happy for you.
We love you, Maureen.
Go out on a good note.
You will be
I
missed.
am planning on staying if you'll have me.
We would love to have you.
I am also planning on staying.
Good. Okay. So now we just I've never done this part.
I'll make a motion to, because I can still do this, make a motion to recommend to the school district board that Annie, Letitia, and Savannah are renewed as board members, reappointed as board members.
I will second that. All in favor, say aye.
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 And,
Okay.
before we move on, I just want to say um, we just completed 10 years of Bridge Charter Academy, and that is awesome. And one staple for all of those 10 years from the very beginning, in some capacity, has been Maureen. And one thing that Maureen told me early on and then has demonstrated over and over and over is the fact that the things that she does and is passionate about isn't just one school, it's the community of Lowell. And she has promoted Bridge in various capacities. She supported Bridge in various capacities towards the end of making our community here better. And that holistic approach, which goes against tribalism and all of that, because we're all working towards the same thing, really has had a deep impact on me and the way that I look at things, and has checked me when I start getting tunnel vision on Bridge Charter Academy and not thinking about how we are fitting into the whole. And she has served in so many different capacities, and served in capacities that if anybody else was doing it from where she came from her background experience, would have been beneath them. They would have said, look, this is a downgrade. But it's because of Maureen's commitment to Lowell and the community that she not only has served, but she has done it without complaining, and has actually made each of the schools here in Lowell School District better and the community better as the result of her experience, her advice, and everything. So, Maureen, I'm getting choked up.
Yeah, you are. You're
I
going to
just-
make me cry.
I'm
Don't
telling
knock
you
it off.
that, even though you were against me in this position, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, you have actually been the biggest support, and I have been saved from myself over and over because of you. And so thank you very much for 10 years of giving not only to Bridge, but to our community. And it just means so much to me. So
Thanks. It's my pleasure. I can't, there was no complaining. So that was great
Oh.
of you, but
no,
I don't think anybody on this call.
I would just say that I didn't consider it complaining.
Just
I
saying.
considered it the good stuff. So,
Constructive criticism. Yes, there you go. It's been my pleasure, and I know that it'll continue on. I am staying on in the city role at least for a while, and it makes the city a better sell, for getting new residents out here. When we have 3 excellent viable choices, in small schools, we don't have 3 first grade teachers and 3 second grade teachers and all of that. But this does give people choice, and that's important. I think competition makes us all better. Competition in a great way in terms of, learning from one another and keep raising the bar, keep raising all boats. I think that's really important. But again, knowing we're all on the same sea and we don't want to sink the other any one of the boats out there. So yeah, thanks for acknowledging that. I think it's important, and I know that these other folks that are following me on the board have also demonstrated that. So I think we're in great hands, and look forward to reading about you. In a good way. No lawsuits. Yeah, please don't show up on the 6 o'clock news and make me choke on my dinner.
Okay. On that note, we are going to talk about updating the check signers.
Oh yes, moving on.
We are going to be. Let's see, who is currently the check signers?
Me.
Just Maureen. Okay. So in light of her not being on the board anymore, we are going to be changing that up to make it myself and Savannah, if you accept.
Yeah.
Since you are local, I think all of us would like somebody local just for those last minute things that would be hard for me to drive 30 minutes out for.
No problem.
So if everybody is okay with that, then would somebody like to make a motion to update the check signers?
I move to include Annie and Savannah as check signers.
Second.
Any discussion? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So what the follow-up is that Rachel will get these minutes typed up and give them to me, and I will go to Banner, and then sometimes they let me bring the card home because I've done business with them for a long time, or you may have to swing by Banner and take your ID and sign the stuff there. Kind of just depends on who's on staff.
Okay. And that's a bank that's local to Lowell.
It's in Pleasant Hill, yeah. It's the
Yeah.
closest one we got. That's where we bank through.
That's that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, next up. Surplus assets, more.
One, just one.
Yeah.
It's a staff device that we would no longer be putting in rotation for staff and selling it for fair value there. And that is it, just the approval to move forward with that.
Okay. I will make a motion to move forward with disposing of these, well, the asset. Somebody want a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Administrator report.
Oh, yeah, so this is the 4.6
Oh,
here.
4.6,
And,
sorry. Yeah.
So as you may know, we are we've got this exciting Japan trip that we have organized in the sense that we've put together the idea and we have run it through Cloud Forest Institute, and they are a organization that we have partnered with before through our Ecuador trip, if you remember that, where students spent some time in Ecuador with Cloud Forest and some of the things that they've done there. When this trip was proposed to go to Japan, it was in a similar vein where Cloud Forest would, in some sense, serve as sort of like an EF Tours, but unlike EF Tours, where they organize everything, Cloud Forest was going to give the structure for this trip because they have worked with outside organizations, but allow us to actually tailor the trip to our school needs. So that would make it a cultural and learning experience connected to a high school course that anybody could take, even if they weren't going on the trip, about Japan, the history, and the language. So we were very excited about this. But as we have started going forward, it's clear that some of the things, the distinctions between us and Cloud Forest Institute are not exactly as well defined as we would like. For instance, during the trip, which is going to happen outside of teacher contract hours, the teachers will be under the umbrella of Cloud Forest Institute going on this trip. But right now, as BCA employees, they're working on planning the trip and everything like that. That is all great, except again, not as well defined as we would like, where families and where we know where everything stands. So what I am proposing is we don't just want to look at this trip, but we want to look at the future of these educational trips. Our hope is that every 2 years we can offer something like this. I really believe in the concept, the work that Frida and Marina have done and continue to do is something that I really think is an asset to Bridge Charter Academy. But we do need to lay down some more structure for this thing. So I'm going to draft up a proposal with Cloud Forest Institute in which we can all get on the same page on what they are doing clearly, what we are responsible for, where the liability lies for each section of this trip, the planning versus the implementation. But I would like just your blessing to be able to go forward, work on a sort of a contract agreement of sorts and run it through our legal counsel to make sure that everybody is protected and that the liability is, covered basically, or as much as is addressed. But in order to do that, I am going to have to, spend some money to go talk to the lawyer. But I wanted to know, first of all, that everybody is passionate about this trip and these type of trips for Bridge, and is this something that you are wanting me to explore? Once I get a go-ahead, if I get a go-ahead, I would go and draft something up with legal counsel, bring it back before we sign anything with Cloud Forest Institute and make it official what they're doing and what we're doing. I'm sure there's some questions, but I'll stop there and see where everybody's at. And again, go ahead.
No, I guess my question is, why is this one different than the Ecuador trip is?
Yes, that's a great question. The real big difference is the last trip that we went on, it was to Cloud Forest Institute's location, right?
Okay.
They are based in Ecuador. This trip is to Japan. They have the infrastructure to do these type of trips. They have all of the documentation. They've done the insurance and everything with these the forms that students sign and everything. But this is outside of their current location. So they would just be allowing us to run this trip through them with the infrastructure that they have, but giving us the ability to actually plan the specifics of what we want to do in this trip versus the Ecuador trip where essentially they did the planning for.
It's kind of like in their catalog, you pick
Exactly.
this trip,
Yep.
and this
And
is
so-
what you do.
And so going forward, if we can get an agreement with them, then other locations would open up and they would be willing to support us traveling to those places for those educational opportunities.
So do they have other schools that are using it in the same capacity that would have that kind of framework?
Typically, they have dealt with colleges in the past.
Okay.
I think we are, for our Ecuador trip, was the first trip that they have done with high schoolers. And so they did a lot of groundwork for that trip to get all of the paperwork and they ran through their legal counsel for that trip. And but now that we're going outside of Ecuador to this
Sure.
other place, we just want to make sure that everything is re-looked at and make sure that we are clear on we are only doing the planning part of this trip and they are taking care of the actual trip itself. And just make sure that legally we are all in the good with that piece. Because at the end of the day, it's going to come down to if something were to happen, which, hopefully not, who is responsible for students that are on that trip. And if it is us, that's fine. We just need to know what we need to have as far as insurance and all of that. If it's Cloud Forest, okay, that's fine. What do they need to have, and make sure that we have that agreement laid out beforehand. And again, families know exactly what it is that is happening with this trip. So currently, families have already started giving funds to Cloud Forest. So this is, in a sense, after we've started the thing. But I think a quick pause and make sure that we have everything defined and solidified now that I see that it isn't as clear cut between where we end and where they begin, is probably the good way to go.
Have we looked into any other companies that do this, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, we have done EF tours before. The reason why Cloud Forest is an attractive option, the cost is lower overall, but that isn't even the reason. It is that there isn't anything out there that will allow us to actually plan the trip and design it specifically for our school. And the fact that Cloud Forest is willing to partner with us and let us design an experience that we would like and then run that trip is a pretty amazing opportunity.
Savannah, did you have any questions
I don't.
or comments?
So again, all I'm looking for is number one, is anybody have any major concerns with going to the next step? Because if you do, then that's something that we definitely want to put the brakes on, because we don't need to rush this thing forward if there are reservations. If there aren't, then just giving me the blessing to draft something up and have it run through legal counsel and then bring it back to the board before we sign anything with Cloud Forest Institute is, yeah.
I see a lot of value in this. Again, I think it's, part of this, specialness that we're able to do here, because it's something going forward. And I do appreciate you drafting an agreement for review, but I also think that legal should be involved in knowing that this is going to be something that's going to be tried and true, not a one and done,
Yeah.
because that might make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And with regard to pace as well.
Yes, and actually the reason that a lot of this came up was because I was talking with Pace about this this arrangement, and they were asking me very okay, to be fair, they were not actually concerned with the trip itself. They were concerned with making sure that there was well-defined,
Yeah.
and that's where I was like, well, that's a good question. Let's relook at this thing. And so, yes, thank you for that. Absolutely, Pace needs to be involved, and they are currently involved and very interested in what I'm doing. So.
Yeah. Well, and we had another thing. We got the city, different hat, got a bunch of flack because BCA got to do an inflatable. How come we didn't get to do an inflatable in the park?
Oh.
And insurance companies now require riders for inflatables, and the city didn't have one because we didn't know y'all were gonna.
Whoa.
And I don't suppose you did either.
Did I know that there was going to be an inflatable there? Is that what you're saying?
Well, your event.
Well, yeah, I didn't know there was going to be
So
an
I hope somebody knew.
I did know.
Okay.
That's why I went. I was excited.
So it's always just a good idea to
Mhm.
check with Pace.
Yeah.
I hate it too. There can be a cold, wet blanket sometimes, but if it saves a family's medical bills and gets them care or avoids, the whole situation, I think that's really
No,
important.
it's actually really good. And I know I'm in my infancy in this role, but I know that I've achieved a milestone when I'm on a first name basis with our PACE representative. And yeah, and it's great. We have plans
But
for
that's good. They
Thanksgiving,
got a
and
lot
we're
of
gonna
knowledge
do-
and
No, it's
experience.
really
I would
true.
rather learn from somebody else's
No, yeah,
bruises
and I
and
am
broken bones than mine.
I am learning that there's definitely a checklist of things that you want to go through before you say yes. So this has been a definite.
So if you do it again, you're going to have a rider, so the city can provide a rider. So that's just what I'm saying.
Wait, I thought we were talking about Japan. I totally missed this other point.
Yeah,
We'll
well,
talk later.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
I'm totally in support, and it will take some attorneys money that isn't in the budget, and that was, one of the suggestions. And I mean, Adrian has a lot of experience in this stuff too, and she might
Mhm.
have something to say about it, or at least going forward. But
Yeah, I will
that's
definitely
another good
connect.
reason to, when she's on these and other calls, that she can hear these things and spidey sense can go up, and she can be a guide for.
Mhm.
Yes, and definitely that is something, that I see from the district level too. So there's different aspects of hearing conversations that, just that not being a fly on the wall, but hearing the conversation, they'll be like, oh, that's gonna need a, something. So
Not a killjoy, but just in order
yeah,
to do it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, yep, yep.
It's a risk management. So you're just practicing risk management by having me in the meeting.
Yeah, for sure.
That is great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can someone make a motion to approve Ben going to the legal counsel and pursuing this contract?
I'll make a motion. Sorry, Savannah.
Oh, go for it.
I'll make a motion for Ben to go to legal counsel.
Savannah, were you seconding?
Sure, I will second it.
Any discussion before we move forward? No? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now I think we're on the administrator's report.
All right, I don't have a lot to say, except this was a great year. We learned a lot. We had some ups and downs as far as Canvas this year at the beginning of the year, but we are on track to get those straightened out, but also to lean into the thing that I'm the most excited about, which is our BCA guided learning courses through Canvas, our curriculum that we're developing. We have a lot of robust options, to the point that my daughter now, who's entering into high school, was able to sign up for all of them. I don't know if she was excited about that or not. Maybe I was more excited to sign her up, but the fact that we're at that point, they're not all totally polished, but
Well, you'll certainly get good feedback.
exactly. Yeah, but again, this is a great next step for Bridge, because we have been so dependent on other options, and I know this has been a big undertaking when we were even thinking about going this direction. And I just am so excited for Jasmine and her team and what they've been able to do to get us to this point. And the early feedback for the classes that we have had has been really good. And so I just know that as students use them and we get the feedback, we're able to go and make them better, and they can just be a dynamic option for students that can change as needs come up. So is there any questions about the the director's report that was in the packet, or anything else?
I had a question about, I don't know if this is the right part, but where we're going paperless.
Yeah.
So does that mean that we're not going to have actual paper checks?
So
that...
I will say that the option is there. And Adrian, you can speak to this, but the idea is that as much as possible, we would get away from paper. If families at this point still want a paper check, we will be able to do that. But we also are able to offer something here soon that we weren't able to offer in the past, and that is a direct deposit type thing.
Yep.
Adrian, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience going paperless with
Yes.
other districts?
So in 2018, when I was hired at Marcola, one of the stipulations was to have a paperless accounting system. I didn't, I got in, got my feet wet, and at that time, setting things up based on things that I knew, based on things that I did when I was at Lane ESD, And then setting up Teach Northwest in QuickBooks, I was able to invite vendors or payees to sign up for Bill.com, and they manage their bank account. We don't ever see it. And then they can take direct deposits from us. And so my hope is that we can, probably our first round of reimbursements for the new year, we'll send out a flyer with the check that says, hey, if you want to sign up, here's where you go and sign up. There is an electronic invite, but you have to have the email address in the vendor. And I don't know, I haven't poked around yet to see if that is in there. But it is an option in QuickBooks to be able to push out money to our parents via direct deposit.
So we're not
Love
looking,
it, maybe not so much, but what do you think, Savannah?
sorry. So we're not looking at debit cards in the future then? Like you know how some charter schools have a card that families use that has the allotment on it?
That was one option that I know Adrian brought up as far as some experience that she has. At this point, for this next year, that is not something that we are looking into in the short term. Is that a possibility in the long term? Well, Adrian definitely has had some experience with it, and she can tell us the pros and cons of going to that system. I don't have anything that, for me, that makes it off the table, but you know, I don't think that we are in a position to do that for next year.
Yeah,
yeah. I think it's kind of a one step at a time. You know, we'll always have those early adopters, majority and late, and so this way we get everybody set up on direct deposit, possibly next year, then we could push out the PEX cards. The issue with if I'm looking at from like a 30,000-foot level, we have, you know, one person doing reimbursements. You'll need another person to do PEX. However, if the workflow decreases in reimbursements and increases in PEX, you can use that same person. They just have to do multiple things. And so, one, you don't want to overload somebody who's already at full capacity with this new task that they have to manage both of them. And so that's a piece, like personnel wise, where are we at? How do we have that capacity to implement a new program that will take personnel management? Also giving this year with offering direct deposit to parents, that gives me kind of a lens and a time period to see how the organization functions in the accounting realm. So I know how my other two organizations, you know, function, but I'm not going to assume that BCA functions the same way because I don't know the culture yet of everything. And so being mindful of that, it's not something I'm going to come in and just say, we're doing it this way and this is the only way it can be done, because that's not true. You know, learning everybody's personalities and working with them and knowing what they can handle and what may be overwhelming, and then working with that. So it's kind of a full scope, for better terms, it's like blending a family. And so learning about everybody and then seeing what we can implement well. Because the last thing I want to do, especially with parents, is implement something that's half working and then there's 75 fixes to it and we've got to work out the kinks. So I want to bring something in that's kind of kink free because we want our parents happy on the business side. That way the education side is smooth. So yeah.
But
So slow and steady.
that makes sense. Thank you.
And in the short term, the going paperless is saving about how many hours of photocopying right now?
Yes.
That's the big win for today, is
Yes.
just hours and hours that are spent doing this manual task.
Yeah.
And the
So I brought in
too,
And
Yes.
the trees, don't forget the
trees. Yes. So we have an electronic filing cabinet where things are indexed and then they can be retrieved, you know, by the auditors. They have a view only right. So there's none of this, you know, like printing the document, processing it, stapling the check to it, filing it in a cabinet. When the auditors come, they want to pull it, then we scan it back in, then we email it to them. So everything will be in a electronic filing cabinet. And then typically we just give them their access and we teach them how to use it. And maybe, like a 15 minutes with the auditors, here's how you look for this document. They'll pull it up. They can save it if they really need it. Most of them don't. And then they can see our audit trail as to who put it in, what date, what time, who approved it, who looked at it, who printed it, anytime you open that document, there is a trail. So it's, I've been using that since the 1920 school year in both Marcola and Teach. And I also used it when I was at Lane Workforce. So it's a solid, Marcola was the first education. We became a case study for them to use it in education. So, and the auditors, Polly Rogers is Marcola's firm. They absolutely love it. So
Thanks.
it's worth it.
You won't get cramped signing checks, Savannah.
No.
We got approved designers just to go paperless.
Maybe.
That's an easy one too, but you guys tell me when you want to do that. You just have to have somebody with the maybe whoever the main signer is, then actually runs checks through the printer again with the signature. I just used to print them onto the checks instead of actually sitting and handwriting them.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Any other questions or anything at all?
I don't have anything. Anything else?
1:59, hurry.
All right. Yeah, we can do this. 1 hour.
Right.
We're so close. Okay. Well, we don't have a July board meeting. So our next meeting time is Monday, August 17th at 1 o'clock. And we are ending at 1:59.
Yay.
July.
Summer, everybody.
Enjoy your retirement, Maureen.
Yes.
We'll miss
Will do.
you.